Gemini 3 is no doubt the best model I've ever seen. It's fast, it's super smart, and it's incredibly competent. Google DeepMind has just leaked 3 next-generation AI products: Gemini 3, Nano Banana 2, and the long-awaited agent from Google DeepMind. I'll show you the absolutely crazy examples that have come out so far, when is the expected timeline for the official release, and tell you how you might be able to try them out yourself right now. This guy asked Gemini 3 to recreate macOS in the browser, and here is the one-shotted result. The design is flawless. It has File Explorer and text editor. Not too long ago, just one-shotting one of these apps was insane. Now we have a macOS running on the browser, and the apps inside are functional. It has a browser inside the browser. It has a terminal, a sketch app, a calculator, and more. A lot of these are JavaScript tricks that the model has come up with, but regardless, it is incredibly impressive and creative. So, for example, the terminal is not actually a fully fledged terminal, but that's the point. The model came up with creative ways to account for its limitations, but also deliver the results. And it didn't stop there. The guy then asked for a replica of Windows, and this time it asked for even more details. This one has a working snake game inside, and a freaking terminal that runs Python. The code to all of these are available in the description shared by Chetas Lua, the original creator of these examples. And I recommend checking them out to see how creative and clever the model is to simulate all of this with only 1,000 lines of code. There are actually even more mind-blowing examples, but let's first talk about the source of the leak. Why does the leak exist in the first place, and how you can try it out yourself. So first of all, why is this called Gemini 3 and not Gemini 2.7, for example? The answer is Google's naming is based on hero runs, as they call it. These huge labs like Google DeepMind have tens of different teams running smaller experiments in parallel, but every once in a while they combine all of the best ideas and concepts and all of the most successful experiments and go for a hero run, as they call it. Everything from data collection and quality, model architecture, pre-training, compute efficiency, and the recently huge stage of post-training gets an upgrade. That's when they increase the version number, creating a model from scratch with all of the best ideas. But this training run is extremely expensive and risky. Anything is off, the entire pipeline breaks down. To make sure they are not wasting resources, the model is trained in checkpoints. So instead of running a multi-billion-dollar training round in one go and hoping for the best, they measure the key metrics and expose the model to the outside world in specific timeframes to get feedback and make sure the model is on the right track. Also, there are trade-offs between different metrics that you might care about. Like if you improve math, it might hurt medical diagnosis or creative writing. So there is not just one Gemini 3. They have multiple branches of it. Some rumors say about 13. And they have to thoroughly test and eventually choose one to release as the official Gemini 3 model. In short, the model can't stay locked away in a lab. It needs real feedback from real users. And that's how people are gaining access to the model right now. The most common way is to use AI Studio and prompt it so many times until you get one of these side-by-side comparisons. This means you are getting an answer from some other model besides Gemini 2.5 Pro. And if you're lucky, you might get one of the best branches of Gemini 3 Pro. Or if you're not lucky, you might get a not so great branch or even Gemini 3 Flash version. They don't tell you the name, but if you interact with them enough times, you clearly see some patterns, and these models are all better than Gemini 2.5 Pro. For example, I tried to recreate the Windows in the browser example and finally got a comparison. This one is obviously Gemini 2.5 Pro. And here is the result. And this one is Gemini 3. It is really close to the result that Chetas Lua shared. I would say it is slightly worse though, and that's for a reason that I'll explain. As I said, there are multiple versions and checkpoints, and at some point people started freaking out about a version that was super powerful, and they called it ECPT. This is the model that built the Windows and macOS replica, and apparently the best variant so far. Let's see a couple more examples of it. This is a code generated by Gemini 3 thinking, showcasing creative coding and a spatial reasoning ability. The prompt was create a pelican on a bike with voxel art. This is designed to test the model's ability to perform multimodal tasks. understand the 3D structure, and finally be able to code accurately enough to output this structure in one shot. By the way, liking and subscribing is one of the best ways you can show appreciation for all the work that has gone into this video. Thank you for your support. All of the examples we have shown are one shot because the comparing function works only once, and the rest of the conversation will default back to Gemini 2.5 Pro. And remember, these examples are not created by agents through iterative improvements. They are one-shot tries. The model is basically intuiting this entire structure to life. This generation looks great, not just from a technical standpoint, but also aesthetically. The colors, the bridge, the water, and the pelican itself all look beautiful. This one is a demo of exoplanet core visualization, and this is fully generated in one single shot. It showcases the model's ability to visualize scientific 3D structures. It looks beautiful and it is interactive. And this is the best Minecraft clone we've ever seen. I tried it before with some other models. Some looked good but non-functional. Some looked really bad but functional. This one is the only one that is both accurate and functional at the same time. You can move around, the environment looks good, you can create new blocks or even remove them. Here is an example of an Xbox 360 controller rendered entirely in SVG. SVGs are basically code-based representations of objects in vector space. Unlike regular images, you can zoom in indefinitely and never lose quality because everything is defined mathematically rather than by pixels. It's incredibly hard to mathematically define complex objects, but Gemini 3 is absolutely crushing it. Just look at this, the famous pelican on a bike in SVG form. No model could get it right before, and this is the best robot SVG we've seen so far, and we can even move it around and play with the parts. And the examples are not limited to the coding ability. Gemini 3 solved a problem that we genuinely thought no LLM could solve. Gemini 3 finally solved the U Tomorrow's 554th problem, the problem that no LLM could solve. And that was supposed to be a counterexample to the LLM's ability to problem solve in creative ways. And it was solved by Gemini 3 in 3 minutes. This problem was only solved by GPT-5 Pro before, which is a different class of model, and it took about 15 minutes. That shows Gemini 3's mathematical abilities and its deep understanding of advanced theorem solving. This question was basically on par with the International Math Olympiad that no language model could solve so far. This one is my absolute favorite, and the one I'm just blown away by. To be completely honest with you, I'm a little bit skeptical of this one, but it was shared as another example for Gemini 3. It combines so many skills to pull off a ready-to-play game. It has a menu, the game is functional and fun to play. It even levels up, has damage animation, skill ups, and soundtracks. Just coming up with the concepts and tuning the game to be playable is super impressive, let alone writing the entire game in one shot. Link to the game and tweet is also in the description. And one final example from the ECPT checkpoint comparing it to GPT-5 Pro. So this is the generation of an interactive voxel art we got from GPT-5 Pro a while back. This does look good and impressive, but ECPT is a long way ahead. It's animated and has this mystical feel to it. This is really art. It honestly makes you feel something. So that was the ECPT checkpoint. But the bad news is, apparently this is not the checkpoint that is going to be released as the official Gemini 3. From what we know, Gemini 3 Pro preview is likely launching around November 18th, since all the previous models are set to be deprecated on that date. As shown in the Google Vertex console entry, Gemini 3 Pro preview November 2025. This preview version also popped up briefly on a Chinese website, but it was quickly taken down, probably after being contacted by Google. It seems a few people already have private access to it. Unfortunately, I wasn't invited to the party again. Now is Gemini 3 Pro preview the same as ECPT? It seems unlikely, as most people are reporting a slight downgrade in coding ability. It is still highly capable and a huge leap, but slightly less competent. Here is a side-by-side example of the Pelican on the bike SVG prompt. As you see, ECPT is much better. Here is a comparison of UI design. Again, the ECPT version is much more creative, detailed, and unique. But the preview is also highly capable. Here's a really insane output from the recent preview model, composing and then playing an original music on its own. And this artistic wormhole, this is not something that you can get out of other models in one shot. It takes a sort of emotional intelligence that most other models lack. It's artistic, relaxing, and technically also really hard to pull off. It can also generate a planet visualization at a level that we've never seen before. The detail, the depth, and the accuracy is on another level. You can change the mountain's height, the continent frequency, and even the sea levels. Now there are a couple of reasons that come to mind for what looks like a downgrade compared to ECPT. The most likely explanation is that out of all the metrics Google cares about, this version might perform a bit worse on certain prompts, especially around coding. But overall, it could be a more balanced and robust model. The other reason could be Google is encouraging the model to use fewer tokens. Generally, the more compute a model uses, the better the output. But there is always a plateau. For example, it might not be worth it to double the compute to just get 10% improvement. So labs usually aim for the sweet spot between efficiency and quality. Here is an example from ECPT again, but this time limiting the output. The outputs on the right were encouraged to use more tokens, while the ones on the left were pushed to use fewer. And as you can see, the difference speaks for itself. Obviously, I'm super excited to see the model and what people can do with it. I recommend opening multiple AI Studio tabs and running the same prompt until you get a comparison. And if you're lucky, one of them is probably Gemini-3. And the only way you can know that is the quality of the output. But beside that, Google was also experimenting with Nano Banana 2. Nano Banana became a global phenomenon for its insane editing ability and spatial understanding. But it wasn't the best image generator. Now Nano Banana 2 is both a better image generator and better at editing. Media AI accidentally exposed the Nano Banana 2 preview endpoint for a few hours. And of course, just as I started making this video, they took it down. They are probably a partner and must have released it earlier than planned, but at least we got to see some really impressive outputs before it disappeared. By the way, I should give a huge shout out to Word of AI YouTube channel. Most of the things I'm talking about and showcasing here are actually from his channel. So if you are into rumors and early previews, you should definitely check his channel out. Let's take a look at the examples. In terms of quality and realism, it is beyond impressive. In side-by-side comparisons, it makes Nano Banana 1 look like trash. It is wild when you remember just a couple of months ago, Nano Banana 1 was world-stopping news. It's also better in terms of instruction following and making 2D graphics. Here are a couple more examples. 2K native output and 4K upscaling. And it is based on Gemini-3 Pro image, which automatically means better word knowledge, better for charts. It apparently has transparency and is overall a huge upgrade. The rumors are they might release it as soon as November 11th, which means it might be out before this video is released. But it is more likely to be released alongside Gemini 3. And finally, we have a new agent from Google. Everyone has been excited about agents, and OpenAI has released about a dozen so far. But DeepMind has been quiet until now. This new agent is a prototype to perform tasks on the web. It might be based on Gemini 3 or not. We are not really sure because agent training takes a bit more time. Here in this demo, it shows that the agent visits a website on your behalf. It's not like the OpenAI one where you had the ability to take control and do the task yourself, but this is just research preview for now. And it goes beyond just web surfing. They are experimenting with agent designers inside Google Stitch. This one looks seriously impressive and genuinely useful. The agent can take your commands and handle all kinds of design tasks automatically. So many exciting things are coming out. Sit tight, as I think we are in for a stormy end of the year. As you know, OpenAI never really lets Google have the spotlight for long, so I wouldn't be surprised if they dropped something big to steal the headlines again. Something like GPT 5.1, which they are already experimenting with on OpenRouter. Let's see how it plays out. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and thank you for watching. See you in the next one.